Coffee time again, exposing the truth. Welcome to Coffee Time Again, exposing the truth. Dale at the microphone, the show that demonstrates how history repeats itself. He digs into the past, shows what happens, and how it is happening now. Follow the path of history to where it goes, then relate it to today to reveal the connections. The culture that forgets its history has no future. A history buff and loves to talk about it, going back as far as ancient Greeks and Egyptians and beyond. So grab your coffee, your chair, and listen to the show. Hope you enjoy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dale, your host of Coffee Time Again. We'll expose the truth. Today we're exposing the truth with Katherine on her amazing story. It's a great story to hear. She's a wonderful lady, and let's get started and let Katherine introduce herself to you and tell us what's going on. Go ahead, Katherine.
All right. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. I'll start just by introducing myself. My name is Katherine Klimitas. I live right outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. We are actually very cold down here today, although I know it's much colder in the rest of the country. I am an artist and a graphic designer. I've been painting since I was about 5. I have a genetic bone disease called osteogenesis imperfecta. It basically means that my bones break easily and grow abnormally. So I am only 2'7". I use an electric chair, wheelchair for mobility, and I have an aide with me almost all the time. So I got into art because it was something that I could physically do as a child. That, because there were a lot of activities my friends could do that I couldn't. And so this was something really, it started just to keep me occupied, but I really liked it. I very enjoyed it, and it turned into a passion initially. So yeah, today I run my own art and design business from home, people, and sell my stuff online. And yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell.
That's an amazing story, and you got an amazing life there, Katherine. I'm very proud to have you on my show. How did going through your physical disability shape who you are as an adult?
I've had this disability my entire life. It's genetic and it is incurable. There are treatments for it that can help with it some, but it when it comes down to it, it's not going away, basically. And so this is my normal. Like, I am used to having this. I've never known any other way to live except having this disability. So, it shapes every aspect of my life. I'm laying down right now talking to you because that's the most comfortable position for me. I lay down to eat a lot. I lay down to work. I type laying down. I paint laying down. And so, of course, I use my wheelchair when I need to, but for any extended period of time where I'm doing an activity for an extended period of time, it's much easier for me to lay down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so in that way, I mean, it's affected my life, quite literally every aspect of my life.
Yeah, I understand. How do people treat you in public? How do strangers react to you?
Uh, it depends. It depends. Sometimes strangers treat me just like any other person, which is great. I like that. That's how it should be. But sometimes they make comments or they stare or, do something that is really dumb looking. I mean, I get comments like, um, "Oh, isn't she precious?" Or "What a cute baby," and I'm 35. I mean, it's not like and do you have a license to drive that thing? I
Mm.
mean, anybody who's used a wheelchair has always gotten those. Um, and it's frustrating. I don't mind when kids stare because kids are kids. They're curious. They want to know about something that looks different to them. And I don't mind, when they ask questions or whatever.
Yeah.
But when adults stare, it's very annoying. And I generally enter them into a staring contest, whether they like it or not. And I just stare back at them
Good
and
for
I make
you.
them just as uncomfortable as they make me. And
Yeah, very.
usually they end up
Yeah,
running
they're gonna
away.
give
It's
up.
very funny.
That's
Yeah.
what I
Yeah. They don't like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand that people can be cool, and children especially can be curious, and they can also be cruel to other children. But to adults, sometimes they can be too. Your success as a business.
Yeah. And with kids, I mean,
Go ahead. What were you going to
go
say
ahead.
about children?
Oh, just with kids. With kids, I think it's a function of how they grow up.
Yeah,
So if they've grown up with, around somebody who is in a wheelchair or looks different, or their parents have taught them the correct etiquette, then they're fine.
yeah.
But, you know, when that hasn't happened, it's a little bit more of a problem.
Okay. What made you so successful as a businesswoman? That's a
Mhm.
paraphrase of one of your questions, despite your challenges.
Well, I grew up with two parents who owned their own veterinary practices. So I grew up with two parents who owned businesses. So I watched them from a young age do the back end of their business, doing all the paperwork, filing taxes, managing employees, hiring employees, just the day to day stuff that when we walk into a business, we don't really see.
Right.
And so, I grew up watching that and helping do that. And so I think having that background was very helpful because it wasn't weird for me to say, I'm going to start my own business. Like that wasn't unheard of or anything.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, it was good. I mean, I had my parents to help me and that was good. And I'm a pretty driven person too. So like I like to set goals and I like to meet them. And I think that has helped me
What's your goal for now? That you're a successful businesswoman. What's your goal?
my goal to get through the week right
I
now. No,
agree.
I mean I have a few goals. I'm working on a new painting series and I'd like to get further with that this year. I'm working on some pet portraits that I need to get finished in a much more short term time.
Okay.
Um, I'm updating my branding. I just updated my website. Things like that.
Yeah. Just mundane things, it sounds like to me. But
Yeah.
how'd you said you started when you were about 5 years old painting and doing artwork. How did that progress into a career?
So again, because I had parents who supported me, they supported everything I wanted to do, and B were there to help me uh, along my journey, like help me figure out how I was going to do what I wanted to do. Um, it was not nearly as difficult as it could have been for me to turn my art into a career. So I, I found art when I was about 5. When I was 10, I sold my first painting.
Okay.
And I realized how much, like, that I could make money with something I actually like to do, which
Mhm.
was exciting, especially as a 10-year-old. And then as time went on, I would have to go to work with my parents on the weekends, and I would just, because I get really bored, I would just sit in their waiting room and paint the clientele's pets
Mhm.
while they waited for my
Yeah.
parents. And eventually they started paying me to do that. Like, not my parents, the clients. The
Yeah.
clients started paying me to do that. And so I started making, like, not a ton of money, but some spending money
Yeah.
as a teenager. And so I learned, and of course, as that happened, my mom said, well, if you're making money, then I'm not going to buy you that toy. I'm not going to buy you the shirt you want. You have to do it. Right. So I had to learn money management really early. And that was very cool. A whole lot in college. I did in high school, but I didn't paint a whole lot in college just because I was getting my graphic design degree and I just didn't have the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't focus on my design classes and paint outside of that too. Um, and then I started again. It took me a few months, but I started again after college.
Mhm.
And it's been good since.
You attended mainstream school. How did that affect you to who you've become?
Oh, I'm very glad my parents pushed to get me into mainstream school. It's so yeah, if a lot of times if you're in a wheelchair, they want to put you in a special ed class.
Yeah.
And special ed classes here, at least, mostly is with mental disabilities as well as physical ones. And I don't have a mental disability.
Right.
And so I would have been extremely bored. I
Mhm.
would not have gotten the social engagement I needed, to grow up into a functional adult. And so it was very helpful for me because, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I would have to eventually function in a world with, able bodied or normal people
Yeah.
at some point, right? So it was better to learn early. But then it was great for my friends because they learned how to be around somebody who was different at an early age too.
Yeah.
And so now that they are adults, also, they do not stare at people in wheelchairs. They don't overstep. They understand boundaries. And it's not even like somebody specifically taught them those things. They just learned from being around me.
Right.
And so it was good for everybody.
Well, that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. Have you ever had a boyfriend?
No, not really.
Not really.
No, it's just not. Yeah, it just hasn't worked out yet. I'm not opposed to it. It just
Okay.
hasn't worked out yet. Yeah,
That's not on your
yeah.
question. It just jumped into my head. I was wondering if in high school you didn't have a boyfriend or something.
No, I mean, there was one guy I dated for a little while. It was very nice, very sweet,
Yeah.
but we yeah, living in different. You know, it is what it is. I mean, I still talk to him occasionally, but he's married, he has kids. I mean, all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
How do you manage pain?
Hmm. Uh, some days better than others.
Yeah.
I so I pretty much have pain all the time.
Yeah.
in some way. I pretty much, something hurts on me all the time.
Yeah.
So, but again, like this is my normal. This
Yeah.
isn't something new for me. So, mentally, I've learned how to deal with it, at least to a certain extent. When it gets really bad, because the hardest time for me to manage it is when I'm trying to sleep. When you have to relax and calm down and, get your body to calm down and go to sleep. That's often the hardest time for me. So, I'll take Motrin occasionally. We do a lot of natural medicine
Okay.
in my do like pathic remedy, um, natural herbs or something will help. I use hot packs to help me relax, especially at night.
Looks like I lost you there.
Times I've had to take that.
Yeah.
But I try not to take anything if I can, but you know, sometimes there's just no getting around it.
Yeah. I have a lot of pain in my shoulder because I've had two surgeries on me and it still hurts. And I got bursitis and that hurts. And I'm also 75, so I hurt all over. So I understand about the dealing with pain.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, it's hard. And the things that work for one person don't always work for the next person.
Right.
I mean, I know people who the only thing that works for them is narcotics.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't work well for me. I know people who CBD and THC work really well for them.
Yeah.
Never has touched my pain. Never. I've tried it. I've tried it in several different forms and it's never worked.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just
You.
what works. You just have to try a bunch of things to figure out what works.
Yeah, that's just you. And I understand that. That doesn't work for me either. And I'm an ex-drug and alcohol counselor. So I know about that and how difficult it is. And it's also very addicting. CBD and
Oh
all
yeah.
marijuana.
Oh, for sure.
Uh, when you do break a bone, what is it painful?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it hurts. It always hurts. I mean, again, some more than others, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
it always hurts. Yeah.
What advantage are there to you owning your own business and working from home?
There are a few advantages. I mean, one is I set my own schedule, at least to an extent. I still have to work with clients. So,
Well, yeah.
I still have to work with their schedules, of course. But when I'm hurt, like if I'm really hurt, I have the ability to say, hey, I'm sorry, it's going to have to wait,
Yeah.
or I can say I'm taking the day off, and I'm my own boss, so I can do that.
Mm.
Now, that's not saying there won't be consequences later for doing that, but I can without firing my, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
actually it does.
and then, the fact, yeah, and the fact that I can down work in my own home. We don't have to make any boss doesn't have to change the way things work in the office for me and all of that. I mean, all of those things are very helpful.
Hmm.
And I get to go to work in my pajamas. So that's helpful.
Yeah, I understand that too. I've managed lots of restaurants when I was a cook before I became a counselor. Uh, what do you mainly paint? It says here you mainly
Yeah.
paint animals. What made you choose animals?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
It's you paint animals mostly. I hear what it says here.
Yes.
Yeah. So what made you
Yes.
choose them?
Well, as I mentioned, my parents were veterinarians, so it kind of comes with the territory. I started painting, um, their clients first, and
Mm,
then my own pets, and um, I loved. I think that had I not had I not had this disability, I would have likely gone into something like zoology or marine biology or something that has to do with animals
mm,
because I've always just been drawn to them. Um, and so I loved going to the zoo. I loved going to the aquarium. I loved anything we did as a fun activity with animals. And I just as veterinarians, my parents taught me how to respect animals at a really young age. All
okay.
animals, not just our dogs and cats, but all animals.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I try to get across in my paintings.
That's what we're trying to get across under there.
Mm.
So you just paint all types of animals or anything specific?
Yeah, I paint so one of the things I paint is birds. We have a lot of birds down here. Like we
Mm,
have a lot of what they call wading birds, but it's like egrets and herons and storks and pelicans and things like that.
yeah.
And they're beautiful. I mean, they're all beautiful. So I paint them. I paint, sometimes I do wild animals like African animals. Sometimes I do wild cats. A lot of times it will depend on if I see a photo I really like that I want to work from. Sometimes that will start a painting or even a series of paintings for
Mm,
me. I've done a series of butterflies. I've done a series of hummingbirds. So yeah, I mean all kinds of animals.
yeah. Before I forget it, since I just remembered it, what's your website? Or is it on your?
Yeah, my website is KAK Art Nola NOLA.com. So it's my initials and then art and then NOLA, like New Orleans,
Oh, yeah.
Louisiana.com.
Because what I do when I edit is I put the website right above here, right up above you. So every
Okay,
they can find your website and come visit you. You don't have to read the.
perfect. Like I said, I just redid it. So the more the merrier.
You do it yourself? Did you
No, I should. I should, but I don't. I I have a friend that I graduated with from Loyola from graphic design that he is a master of web. So I pay him to do it
Okay.
because he's just so much better at it than I am. So yeah.
I do my website. I've done mine myself. Uh, so I'm just curious as to if you've done that. If you're
Yeah.
logically, you learned a lot of that.
It's not that I can't. Yeah, it's not that I can't. I can. I just don't want to.
Yeah, well, that's an important point right there. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How do you get along with the medical people?
medical people. So my disease is pretty rare.
Mm,
Okay. So I haven't looked at numbers in a while, and somebody else asked me this the other day, so I should look them up. But the last time I looked at numbers, I think only 40,000 people in the United States have this disease,
mm,
which is a very small amount.
it is.
And um, it ranges in severity. So of that 40,000, I'm one of the most severe. And so Other than 1,000, 3,000 have it like I have it. It's a range. There are people who have this disease who you wouldn't even know had it. Like they can walk, they might be a little bit short, they've only broken a few bones in their lifetime,
Yeah.
and they're basically okay. I mean, they have some issues, but you wouldn't know it if you just talk to them on the street.
Okay.
Um, and then there's me,
Yeah.
who is the exact opposite, right? So it's hard because personnel know how to treat this disease and know how to handle it, especially at my severity. Um, I had a great doctor. I had a great orthopedist from the time I was 2 to just a few years ago when he retired.
Yeah.
And he did all my surgeries when I was young. He did a great job. And then he retired. And so I had to find a new one. And that was really hard. I mean, there were doctors that basically just said, no, I don't want to take you. I won't take you as a patient. Because unfortunately, even an orthopedist who's a bone doctor, they should know about this.
Yeah.
Even for them, it's so uncommon that this is just a paragraph in a book that they've read. They've never actually hands-on treated it. And so it's hard. One thing I tell medical professionals when I talk to them, because I talk to a lot of OT and PT students and med students. And one thing I tell them is that protocols are really good and that's you should learn them, right? Because it's the foundation for everything you do. But they don't work for everyone.
Right.
So, like, for example, if I break a bone and I go to the hospital, okay, the first thing they're going to do is get me an x-ray. Well, that's fine, but I know that I've broken a bone. I've done it literally thousands of times. I mean, I know where it's broken. I know how it's broken. I mean, I'm pretty well aware. I have enough experience. So it's kind of you. And they're going to try to set it. They're going to try to cast it or wrap it or whatever. And the problem with their material at the hospital is that it's very heavy. And so let's say that I break let's say I break my wrist. Okay. Or like my forearm. Let's say I break my forearm somewhere. They'll put a cast on my arm, but then it'll be so heavy and not done in the way that I need it done that it'll eventually break my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I know this because this happened.
Yeah.
So we have to be outside the box, when treat shoes. And so it's very rare that I see a medical professional.
Okay.
I see them when I have to, but I see a physical therapist. I see a physical therapist every week, or every other week now. But other than that, I'll call my doctor if I have a cold or flu or something normal that you would call and get an antibiotic, whatever, something like that. But other than that, as far as like my bones go, I don't see medical professionals often at all.
Just it goes back on its own.
Yeah. I mean, my parents are veterinarians.
Oh.
They can wrap a bone. Like it's not like they don't know how, and so we can get the materials through their office, and they're better materials than what they use in the hospital for me because they're a lot lighter, and it just works better.
Okay.
We have the ability to change things at home, and it's just better overall.
Good. Glad you got that figured out over time. It's like me. I've got a couple of heart diseases, and I know my body. I know what's wrong. I'm trying to tell paramedics what's wrong with a 2.5, and they don't understand.
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't, and it's too bad. I mean, the doctor I found is good. He doesn't specialize in this, but he studied under my doctor, so
Mm,
at least he's a little bit familiar with
yeah,
it. And but he's an hour away. I mean, he's not 10 minutes from my house. He's an hour. I have to drive an hour to
yeah,
see him. You know that's just the way it is.
yeah. I understand it would be rough on you to drive it right an hour, because you don't drive, do you?
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no,
I didn't think so.
no,
But it must be awfully uncomfortable to ride
no.
a car or any kind of vehicle.
Um, we we have some ways that it's not too bad. I mean,
Okay.
we've adapted it. It's not too bad. Yeah, yeah, it works. Boring, but other than that, it works.
Oh, yeah. I can understand that part.
Yeah,
I live in an assisted living facility. I'm the only one with a car.
yeah.
So, what do you want to do when you retire?
What do I want to do as an adult?
Or when you retire?
Higher. Oh my God, that's so far away. I have no idea. I
Oh, perfect.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I probably want to travel some.
Okay. As a retired person, yeah,
Uh, I are thought far ahead. Um, I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to get my business to a point where it's making enough money.
yeah.
So retirement's way in the future.
It isn't always until you're 35, but let me give you a little hint from being retired. It isn't what they say it is. It's not as
Yeah,
glorious as they make it out on TV and commercials, TV and movies. I can guarantee you that because
yeah,
I'm retired and I'm doing this podcast to keep my mind shut. And it's not working too well. So
yeah. That's important, though. That's
yeah,
important.
it really is.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to the public about my viewers? What do you want to say to them? What's important for them to know about you?
Uh, I think just in general, it's important to remember that everybody has a different perspective. In general, I mean, those perspectives is wrong or bad. Um, they're just different. And especially right now, I mean, the way the world is right now, I think it's because everything is so polarized politically. I mean, just not just politically,
Yeah,
with generationally. I mean, it just everybody is. It seems like, and maybe I didn't see it just because I was younger, but it seems like the world is just split into so many groups right now, and every one group thinks they're right, and they don't listen to what the other group says. And so the communication is just lost,
yes,
and it's a huge problem. And the fact of the matter is, no one group or person is ever all the way right. I
yeah,
mean, that's just not the way it is, you including me, including you,
yeah,
everybody. Like, everybody's wrong in some way, but
yes,
everybody's probably right in some way too.
right,
So I think that's really important. Um, I also think it's important to remember that everybody has some kind of potential. Like, everyone has something they can contribute to society. So mine is my art. Yours is, I assume, this podcast
yeah,
and something else, I'm sure. Some people do public speaking. Some people can sing, some people teach kids, some people invent items, some people cure diseases. I mean, there's all these things you can do in the world, and everybody has something, right? And it's really important that you figure out what that is and you pursue it, because that's what makes the world work is when people do that. So I think that's really important, and that's another part of the reason that I try to keep up with my art and keep going, because I really do believe that.
Yeah. Are you religious or spiritual? You go to church?
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
Not specifically a one religion or another, but yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering about that
Mhm.
because your philosophy there is so right on. I'm politically active pretty much. I do a lot of political stuff. I just finished one before I came over here with you on politics, and it is so polarized
Mhm.
the world, but not just the United States, even though
Oh,
we are. But
yeah, I agree. My mom follows it more than I do, because I find that it just makes me mad.
yeah,
Uh, but she continues to follow it. So, I can't make her stop. But, um, I hear parts of what she listens to
mm,
occasionally, and I'm just like, you know, there's so many problems with it. And then there's, on top of that, you're there's media that is completely true. There just
yeah.
isn't. Nobody's just reporting the news anymore,
Oh no,
you know? And so that's really hard.
yes. If we find somebody to report, just tell us what the news is. Let us decide about it. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Walter Cronkite, but that's what he
Exactly.
did. He just said the news, didn't offer any, he had nobody on to
Right.
talk about it. He just reported the news that that's the way it is. You deal with it. You figure it out. That's what,
Exactly. And then you can form your own, but that's not what it works. That's not what it is anymore,
no.
especially with social media. I mean, that's even worse. So, yeah.
Are you getting uncomfortable?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I
Notice,
just have to move every now and then.
I just wondered if that table was hard on you.
Oh, no, my foot's right here. I feel it. I see it. It's fine.
All right, I don't want you to get
Yeah.
uncomfortable and be in pain while you're talking to me.
Oh, no, I'm good.
All right. Yeah, they don't, what they do is they tell you how to think, not what to think about.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what, in my opinion, that's what's happening in schools. They're telling you what to think, not how
Oh,
to think.
I agree. Yes. Yes, I agree with that completely. I recently talked with one of my old high school teachers, and the high school I went to, when I went to it, and it still is, but when I went to it, it was basically a magnet school. I mean, it was very advanced. If you went to that school, you were going to college. I mean,
Yeah,
it was just kind of it prepared you for college, right?
yeah,
And it was hard. I mean, it was really hard. I mean, I worked harder in high school than I did in college, for
yeah,
sure. At least the first years of college. And so I was talking with this person the other day, and she was telling me how what they're not allowed to do anymore as teachers. How they're not allowed to test a certain way, and they're not allowed to basically make these kids think on their own.
yeah.
And that's just terrible. I
Yes,
mean, that's terrible. Then what? They're going to grow up into an adult that can't think on their own?
right. I've noticed that with my grandchildren.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
not capable of thinking. I mean, I raised my boys to think.
Hmm.
My three sons, I said, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I'm going to think, but you decide what you're going to think.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be wonderful children. But the schools have messed up their children so bad.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully those kids are getting enough from their parents. It won't be so bad.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we're getting into generations where, if you're 20 and you have a child, you've been treated that way already,
Yeah.
and then your kid, they're just going to teach their kid the same,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, that's unfortunate.
It
Yeah.
did. Very unfortunate. Is there anything you really want to say?
I don't know. I kind of feel like we covered everything. I hope everyone visits my website.
No, I want to put it
That
right
would
above you.
Very good. I hope everybody visits my website. I am taking commissions for pet portraits right now.
Okay.
I don't have any big events coming up, but um, I'm sure I will at some point in the future.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want, you can.
It will.
There's a newsletter sign up on the bottom. You can
Okay.
sign up. Yeah.
Right. I'll send people there. I'll put it up there, put it in my show notes too. I had that come visit you and meet you.
Perfect.
I
That'd be great.
that'll work. It's getting pretty close to time being. We're going to be early, a little bit ahead of schedule
Yeah.
here, but that's all right. I
Okay.
delightful talking to you, Catherine.
Yeah, it was great talking with you too. Thank you so much.
You betcha. And I'll direct people to your website, and it'll be close to the first week of March, 2 week, 10 days before I get this published. But I'll drop you a line on podcast letting you know when it's gone live. So you have a magnificent
Okay.
day, and I will talk to
Yes.
you. You mind if I put you on a invite back list for about a year from now to see how you're doing?
That'd be great. I'm just re-
Okay.
that'd be great. Now,
All right. You have a magnificent day. Enjoy your paintings.
okay. All right. Thanks.
You bet. Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you for listening to the show. There are show notes and a place to comment at https:// coffee time again.libsyn.com/website. He hopes that you liked what you heard and will tell others about him. Dale is attempting to get a following that both disagrees and agrees with him. He does not want yes men. If you disagree, wonderful. He is happy to have you here as a part of the Coffee Time Again team. Dale does not talk about the news of the day. He is attempting to give a history lesson that is just as important about what is going on in the headlines of today. Please do not hesitate to contact him. Just remember that Dale wants a clean show, meaning no cussing, name calling, yelling, or hate allowed. You can disagree with him and not be disagreeable about it. Support him and help keep this alive. https colon / glow.fm / coffee time again.